Hey, everybody. Welcome to Reading the Bible to Cats. And Henry has a really funny expression on his face. I don't know why. He's, he looks startled. Anyway, I was going to read Judges chapter 11. So let us turn to that from the Archaeological Study Bible. And hopefully Henry will remain our subject, our visual subject. Okay. Oh no, I knew it. I knew it. Okay, hold on a sec. Blackout. There's one over there. Boom. We'll look at that lovely black visage of Katniss. Okay, so Judges chapter 11. Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty warrior. His father was Gilead. His mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also bore him sons. And when they were grown up, they drove Jephthah away. You are not going to get any inheritance in our family, they said, because you are the son of another woman. So Jephthah fled from his brothers and settled in the land of Tob, where a group of adventurers gathered around him and followed him. Sometime later, when the Ammonites made war on Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. Come, they said, be our commander so we can fight the Ammonites. Jephthah said to them, didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble? The elders of Gilead said to him, nevertheless, we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be our head over all who live in Gilead. Jephthah answered, suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head? The elders of Gilead replied, the Lord is our witness. We will certainly do as you say. So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. And he repeated all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. When Jephthah sent messengers to the Ammonite king with the question, what do you have against us that you have attacked our country? The king of the Ammonites answered Jephthah's messengers, when Israel came out of Egypt, they took away my land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, all the way to the Jordan. Now give it back peaceably. Jephthah sent back messengers to the Ammonite king, saying, this is what Jephthah says. Israel did not take the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites. But when they came up out of Egypt, Israel went through the desert to the Red Sea and on to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, give us permission to go through your country. But the king of Edom would not listen. They sent also to the king of Moab, and he refused. So Israel stayed at Kadesh. Next, they traveled through the desert, skirted the lands of Edom and Moab, passed along the eastern side of the country of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was its border. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, and said to him, let us pass through your country to our own place. Sihon, however, did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. He mustered all his men and encamped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord, the God of Israel, gave Sihon and all his men into Israel's hands, and they defeated them. Israel took over all the land of the Amorites who lived in that country, capturing all of it from the Arnon to the Jabbok and from the desert to the Jordan. Now, since the Lord, the God of Israel, has driven the Amorites out before his people Israel, what right have you to take it over? Will you not take what your god Chemosh gives you? Likewise, whatever the Lord our God has given us, we will possess. Are you better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever quarrel with Israel or fight with them? For 300 years Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer, the surrounding settlements, and all the towns along the Arnon. Why didn't you retake them during that time? I have not wronged you, but you are doing me wrong by waging war against me. Let the Lord, the judge, decide the dispute this day between the Israelites and the Ammonites. The king of Ammon, however, paid no attention to the message Jephthah sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh, passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, if you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me, when I return in triumph from the Ammonites, will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from Aroer to the vicinity of Minnith, as far as Abel Keramim, or sorry, it is I who speak and not the Bible. I think it's as far as Abel Keramim. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing to the sound of tambourines? She was an only child. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried, "Oh, my daughter, you have made me miserable and wretched because I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." "My father," she replied, "you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me just as you promised. Now that the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the Ammonites, but grant me this one request," she said. "Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my friends, because I will never marry." "You may go," he said, and he let her go for 2 months. She and the girls went into the hills and wept because she would never marry. After the 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed, and she was a virgin. From this comes the Israelite custom that each year the young women of Israel go out for 4 days to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite. Okay, everyone, that is the end of Judges chapter 11. And I knew we were going to come to this passage, which is a difficult one, because it's like, it's just difficult. I mean, Jephthah made this vow, and then how horrible that it was his daughter who walked through the door. There is this, yeah, it's hard, for, like I've said before, but for a 21st century Western woman to understand this culturally, it's difficult. But let's read the study note. Judges chapter 11. The request of Jephthah's daughter to be allowed to go out into the hills and weep over her virginity. Oh, this is called the virgin. Judges 11, verse 37, strikes modern readers as almost incomprehensible. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Why would a girl who was about to be put to death as a sacrifice focus attention on her virginity? In order to begin to understand this, it is necessary to recognize the enormous importance attached to virginity in ancient cultures, especially in Israel. A few examples will make the point. I can't pronounce this name, but I'll try. Aeschylus's play, Suppliant Maidens, a father appeals to his daughters to maintain their virtue in the face of the lustful desires of men. He charges them, quote, honor your chastity more than your life. That's from line 1013. Euripides' play, Alcestis, tells the story of a woman who gives up her life to save that of her husband. Awaiting her death, she weeps over the fate that has befallen her. In her lamentation, she looks upon her bed and declares, O bed, where I lost my virginal maidenhood by this man for whom I die, farewell. That's from lines 177 through 179. Like Jephthah's daughter, she thinks of her virginity as she faces death. Josephus in Antiquities 1.246 recounted the story of Rebekah from Genesis 24 and had her say, they call me Rebekah. My father was Bethuel, but he is dead, and Laban is my brother, and together with my mother he takes care of all our family affairs and is the guardian of my virginity. Unquote. The Genesis account does not explicitly cast Laban in this role, but the idea is one that both Jewish and Gentile readers of the time would readily have comprehended. The story of the rape of Absalom's sister Tamar by Amnon, 2 Samuel chapter 13, illustrates both how strongly young women felt about their celibacy and its significance for their reputation. In the story, Ammon deceived his half-sister Tamar and raped her by force, then despised her and sent her away. Prior to this, Tamar had worn a special garment that signified her virgin status. But after the rape, she tore it in her grief. Even so, she would have been willing to marry Amnon, one of the vilest characters in the Old Testament, rather than live with the disgrace of being an unmarried woman who had lost her virginity. Deuteronomy 22, verse 13 through 21 describes a man who marries a woman but then begins to loathe her and to tell people that she has not come to the marriage as a virgin. It falls upon the woman's family to produce evidence of her virginity. Deuteronomy 22, verse 17. This confirmation evidently consisted of bedclothes stained with her blood on the wedding night, at which time she had purportedly lost her virginity. The elders of the town were to punish the man for slandering her, Deuteronomy 22, verse 19, but had the woman actually engaged in intercourse before marriage, she would have been stoned to death, Deuteronomy 22, verse 21. The Hebrew Bible regularly refers to cities or countries by the term virgin, e.g. Isaiah 47, verse 1, Jeremiah 31, verse 4. This is because a virgin in ancient Israel was to be protected from outsiders. In the same way, cities and countries were to be protected from invaders and kept inviolable. Given this cultural background, it is clear that Jephthah's daughter, like most Israelite girls, would have regarded the preservation of her virginity until marriage as central to her identity. This young woman would never obtain the goal of coming to marriage as a chaste bride. Okay, well, that's the study note. Okay, let's read this other little study note. It says, it cites chapter 11, verses 29 through 40, and then it cross-references Leviticus 27, verses 1 through 8, contemplates the possibility of someone's vowing to give himself or some other person of his household to the Lord, and makes provision for the redemption of such an individual by the payment of money. we know too from the experience of Samuel that sometimes persons coming under a vow were handed over for the service of the sanctuary. 1 Samuel 1, verse 11. It is therefore thought by some that Jephthah redeemed his daughter with money and gave her up to the service of the Lord as a perpetual virgin. Okay, that's what, and then so that's an idea that I wonder. So this study note is saying that it's possible that she gave up her, she wasn't actually killed, but that she was redeemed by money and then was just forever in the service of the sanctuary, and then was a perpetual virgin, kind of like a nun, I guess. I mean, a Jewish nun. I I mean, I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, human sacrifice was not a thing that was wasn't a Israelite thing to do. Um, but yeah, vows were serious. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on that passage, feel free to leave a comment. Oh, here's another note on the Old Testament vows. Chapter 11, verse 35. In the Old Testament, vows were never regarded as religious duty. Deuteronomy 23, verse 22. But once they were made, they were considered sacred and binding. Deuteronomy 23, verse 21 through 23. Judges 11, verse 35. Almost anything, people, possessions, oneself, except what was already the Lord's or was an abomination to the Lord, Deuteronomy 23, verse 18, could be vowed, and all these things could be redeemed with money, their value to be determined by a priest. Houses, lands, and unclean animals that were redeemed had to have a fifth of their value added to make up the redemption money. Okay. What else? Okay, well, I think those are the study notes. There is a little note about religious dancing. See the note on religious dancing at Psalm 149. Well, we'll get to that later on, I think. Anyway, oh gosh, we're not looking at a kitty. I totally got lost in the text. Where's Stan? Hold on a sec. There's Stan, the stand-in kitty. Let me focus. Okay, just take a look at Stan over there. Oh, sorry, I don't know how long we were without a kitty. I got lost in the text. Well, okay. Yeah. I'm curious about Judges chapter 11. All right. Well, let's say a prayer. Wish we had a kitty to look at, but Stan is cute, isn't he? Lord, thank you for your word. Help me understand Judges chapter 11 and, the whole thing about vows and I don't know what happened to Jephthah's daughter. I'm glad that your word says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. I just feel like the new covenant is so full of freedom. There's just freedom in you. And not, like Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Come unto me, all who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. It's not a heavy, burdensome vow that we have to fulfill or carry, but a light, something light and easy. which is love, basically, to love you, Lord, with all our heart, mind, and soul, and to love others. I pray for everyone who's watching or listening that you would lighten their burdens, and if they're putting heavy burdens on themselves or heaviness and heavy weights that sometimes we put on ourselves, I ask that you would help them to realize that your burden is light, and that your yoke is easy. So, yeah, I pray out for us to live in the light of your love and freedom. Pray for the peace of Israel, Lord, and for the peace of Jerusalem. We thank you for protecting Israel and for doing all that you're doing in protecting your land. And it was interesting in that passage where Jephthah goes into detail and educates the 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 enemy there with a long dissertation and historical lesson, and just lets him know, um, you know, that you have given that land to the people of Israel. So that seems to be a theme throughout the Bible and throughout history. Anyway, education, education, education. Thank you for your word, Lord, for it does educate us. I pray for the hostages, Lord, for that they would feel your freedom in their spirits, and that you would free them physically. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, everybody, look at Guster's tail in the tube there. Henry, are you playing with that carpet? What? What's that tail? What's that tail doing? Is that Guster? Oh, get that. Oh, well, they're being cute. It's hard to turn off the camera when they're cute. Well, they're going to play for a while. All right, everybody. I'll talk to you later. What is today, by the way? Oh, I forgot the date. It is Sunday night, and I'll post this tomorrow, Monday. All right. Bye.